We are finally here after what 8, 9, 10 weeks doesn't matter. We're finally here. It's NFL draft week, so we figured we record an episode. We're recording on Wednesday, the night before the draft, 24 hours before exactly. But as always, joined by Braden Bankin. Braden, how are we doing?
I could not be happier. We have been stalling for, like you said, about 8 weeks to get to this week, and we have finally made it. We can just breathe a sigh of relief, know that we don't have to talk about doing a bunch of mock drafts anymore.
Yeah,
We can just review the draft next week and then just start talking about apple pies or whatever for the next like 3 months.
yeah, just
Life is good.
yeah. At least after the draft, we'll have something to talk about with the rookies and where they end up going, where they get drafted, and all that fun stuff. Every time this week, I don't know if you do the same. I have this goofy tradition. You've seen the movie Draft Day, I assume.
Oh yeah.
I have to watch it as bad as it is. I have to. It just gets me in the right headspace. It gets me in the zone for draft week. And I know it's a super corny movie, but I just have to every single week. Every single year the draft is here.
The fact that GM didn't get thrown out of the building the minute he traded up for that pick.
For Bo Callahan,
Yeah.
which ended up turning into what, Vontae Mack. And man, what's the other player that the Browns drafted? I almost said Greg Jennings. Ray Jennings.
People didn't go to his birthday party.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Dude?
Yeah, didn't go to his poor kid's birthday party. It's kind of like a crazy plot of why teams are hesitant, but I'm sure NFL teams, there's some of them out there that like actually tweak about that. Like, all jokes aside, I bet there's a few that are just like, oh, he doesn't have any friends, and so he's off our draft
there's
board.
one. Nico Harrison. That's
Yeah.
it. There was one.
Yeah. Cross sport in the NBA.
Nobody went to Luka's birthday party, so they traded him for Anthony Davis and Max Christie and even a first round pick?
One first
I don't
round
even-
pick. One. Speaking of the NBA, we are recording. It's playoff basketball night. I won't spend too much time, but there's a couple games on tonight. Magic and Celtics, Heat, Cavs, Warriors, Rockets. Some of the series have been good so far, but that's not the main point of this episode. This episode is strictly draft talk. Like, me and Braden, we're both diehard NFL fans. We live for this week. I don't know if you're the same way, Braden, but I'm a Thursday, Friday, Saturday guy. I watch almost all the draft as I can. The end of Friday or Saturday gets a little dicey for me because watching 6th and 7th rounders get picked isn't too much fun. But definitely the first two nights are always a blast to watch.
Well, the 6th and 7th rounds are the most fun for me because that's when all the Iowa State players get picked.
That's true. That's where Mr. Brock Purdy was taken with obviously Mr. Irrelevant,
262, baby.
which has already been 3 years, which
God.
it's insane. Yeah. It didn't feel that long ago that he got thrown into the starting lineup. But yeah.
That Oklahoma State game will live with me forever. Was it Oklahoma State? I don't remember. Whichever one that Purdy got thrown into.
Was it
And then he
Oklahoma?
just-
Or
Might
I'm
have
thinking
been
of Kyle
Oklahoma.
Kemp. I'm thinking of that game, the away game.
There have been a lot of quarterbacks that just make no sense that they ended up like being good. And by being good, I mean just being better than the starter.
Yeah.
Like
I remember one of the Cyhawk games when Zeb Nolan started the game.
Zeb Nolan. Oh my God.
I was in the stadium and I
My
just thought the
goodness.
first name Zeb was just like a crazy name. I'm like, why would you name your kid Zeb? And
Didn't he
I
like
don't
make
remember
a start like a year ago or something like that? I'm
I have
pretty
no
sure
idea.
he had like one random year of eligibility left. He was on the team as like a graduate staffer, and they had no quarterbacks left. So they were like, "All right, Zeb, go give him hell."
The other
he
one I
did.
remember is, I think his name is Jacob Park.
Yep, he Jacob Park is the guy who I don't know if he was around the same timeline as Joel Lanning.
Yes,
Because I remember he had like half the production in that game where we beat Mahomes by like 50.
I just remember Jacob Park through like some of the like craziest downfield passes against Iowa. You guys had like 75-yarder with like 3 minutes to go, and I thought Iowa was cooked in that side game, and they were not cooked. Shout out Akron Wadley for that one. Just tiptoeing down the sideline before OT. That's enough
That sounds
Cyhawk
about
talk.
right.
Um, we thought we would do something fun, something that gets us, me and Braden, thinking. So we came up with our top 5 of greatest NFL draft what ifs. Like, one scenario falls a different way. The league is, we're looking at a different league entirely. So I'm gonna have Braden show the floor for. Oh, that is mine. Um, Braden, do you want to kind of give us a rundown of some of your greatest draft what ifs? And I don't know if it says it on the screen, or I think it does, but for our listeners out there on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, these are not in any particular order. These are just the first 5 that came up to me and Braden when we were thinking of them. But yeah, Braden, you have the floor.
Yeah, so I think when you think of NFL draft busts, I think the first name that comes to your mind is going to be Jamarcus Russell. You look at all the other talent in that went like the next few picks after that. I think number 2 and number 3 were Megatron and Joe Thomas, and then you have like Marshawn Lynch down the board. Some other guys that probably aren't coming to my head at this very moment. But I mean, Jamarcus Russell already maybe started like 3 games and then got cut in 3 years as the first overall pick in the draft. Like you got to think if they would have drafted literally any other name at number 1, where would they be right now? Probably.
Do you want to hear some of the other names in that first round?
Oh, I would love to.
So you said Calvin Johnson, Joe Thomas. Those are amazing players. How about Adrian Peterson at number 7? How about Patrick Willis at number 11? Even a guy who's not a Hall of Famer, but a great player, Ted Ginn at number 9. Darrelle Revis at 14. Let's see what their names are. Joe Staley at 28, who played till, 2018, 2019. Greg Olson, like, a lot of really good players that the Raiders could have taken, and instead, we just Jamarcus Russell.
In the wise words of Stephen A. Smith. Yeah, these are in no particular order, but I feel like if I had to pick a number 1, that probably is my number 1. Is just because of how tremendously bad Jamarcus Russell ended up turning out in the pros. Number 2 is kind of like is kind of a combo because it was in the same year. It's the Bills don't trade away the 10th pick to the Chiefs, and the Bears don't take Trubisky. You gotta think Patrick Mahomes, pretty good player. Would you agree?
I mean, he's okay. He's okay.
He's not bad. You would like to think in another world, the Bills, knowing that Patrick Mahomes is going to terrorize them for eons, that they probably wouldn't trade that pick to the Chiefs. And in that same world, let's say the Bears know that Mitchell Trubisky is not quite going to be the player that Patrick Mahomes ended up being. I mean, I'm not saying if he goes to the Bears that he's going to be Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, he was a project quarterback, and he ended up going into the perfect hands. But if you could get 50% of Patrick Mahomes on the Bears, that's probably the greatest quarterback that franchise has ever seen. Man, and a little slept on, the Bears traded up with the Niners to get that pick. They traded up 1 pick when the Niners were not looking at a quarterback because Kyle Shanahan wanted Kirk Cousins. But we gaslit the Bears into trading up 1 pick to take Mitchell Trubisky. Granted, we took Solomon Thomas with the next pick, which not much better, but
you could do a whole what if on the 2017 draft as a whole, because there are so many elite players that were taken in this draft. You said Mahomes. Myles Garrett was the first pick that year. Christian McCaffrey was the 8th pick. Mahomes the 10th. Marshawn Lattimore the 11th. Even though this next player,
just a goated draft.
Yeah. Deshaun Watson, even though before all that stuff was great in Houston. No one's denying that. Just a bunch of players, and yet Bears are like, nope. We want Mitch. We want Mr. Mitchell Trubisky.
Money Mitch.
Money Mitch.
And then number 3, I feel like people don't really talk about this one very much. The Browns traded away the rights to Julio Jones in that 2011 draft, who just retired this year, and I think is pretty comfortably one of the best receivers of the 2010s. And I don't know if you know much about the Browns in the 2010s. Not good. Not very good. I don't think the Browns got 0-16 if they had a mop throwing to Julio Jones. So, I mean, yeah, granted they wouldn't end up getting the first overall pick to get Myles Garrett, but I think that's a risk you take if you get a talent like Julio Jones on your team. Uh Next one, Ravens don't end up trading up with the Eagles at pick 32 to get Lamar. Uh I think this, I mean, obviously drastically affects what the Ravens look like if they don't have a two-time MVP on their team. Obviously, I don't think the Eagles would be in a position to take a quarterback because they have Carson Wentz at this point, who is this the year where he either was just drafted or like was coming off of an injury that would have helped him get MVP?
That year he tore his ACL or something in his knee was bad against the Rams in the regular season. That was the Nick Foles Cinderella run. It was that year.
Yes. So yeah, they obviously wouldn't be looking at a quarterback there. But any other team trades with the Eagles to get Lamar, or if Lamar somehow falls into the second round, man, whatever team gets him is probably looking like a heavy contender right now. And then my last one, this was a big, I think in the same draft, this was a big talking point going into the draft is Kyler Murray going to choose baseball or is he going to choose football? Because he was a first round draft pick, I think, his junior year in college at Oklahoma.
He was the eighth pick in the draft by the A's, I want to say. He was a top 10 pick. He wasn't just a first round pick. He was a top 10 pick.
I can't remember exactly. I just know that he was I just remember a graphic.
Ninth pick.
I just remember seeing a graphic when I was watching the Oklahoma-Iowa State game that year that Kyler Murray was getting paid more than his coach by the A's. Or that his contract was worth more than his coach was making.
Shout out Lincoln Riley.
I mean, you at a certain point, money talks. If Kyler Murray were to choose baseball over football, Nick Bosa probably goes number one.
Yep.
That whole draft gets flipped on its head, really. So I think that'd be a really interesting scenario to see play out.
Yeah. Like you said, Bosa probably goes one. Niners probably then take Quinnen Williams, the D tackle from Alabama. And then from there on out, it's a crapshoot with the rest of the top 10. Looking back at this top 10, there are some whiffs on some of these picks in the 2019 draft.
Raiders probably still go Cleveland Farrell, and we all point and laugh.
What happened, Kyler obviously goes one. We know he chooses football in this universe. Bosa, phenomenal player for the Niners. He goes number two. Quinnen Williams goes three to the Jets. Cleveland Farrell, shout out Cleveland Farrell, goes to the Raiders at legend. 4. Devin White was actually the 5th pick in the draft to the Bucks.
Yes, he was a top 5 pick.
Mr. Dimes, Danny Dimes, goes number 6 to the Giants. Josh Allen, the linebacker, then goes 7 to the Jags. Iowa legend TJ Hawkinson goes 8 to the Lions. Ed Oliver 9 to the Bills, and Devin Bush 10 to the Steelers. So that top 10 was kind of a crapshoot that year. So if Kyler ends up choosing baseball, who knows? I like that a lot. Not something I would have thought of, but I'm glad that you brought that to my attention because it got me thinking a little bit. But yeah, Braden, love the top 5 NFL draft what ifs. Here are mine. We have some extremely similar ones, but I have a few tweaks. First one is, what if the Eagles end up taking Jay Jettis over Jalen Reagor? I know the Eagles just won the Super Bowl, but if they have Jay Jettis, do they not trade for A.J. Brown? Do they not draft Devontae Smith next year? What do the Eagles really look like? Because instead of Jalen Hurts throwing to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, he's throwing it to Justin Jefferson. Who knows? And what happens if Reagor goes to Minnesota? Maybe Minnesota's just a crapshoot and they're fighting for one of the top 5 picks every year because I think Jefferson's got that big of an impact. The second one ties into your second one, but it's just I wanted to change it up a little bit. So what if the Broncos didn't trade up for Paxton Lynch in 2016? And I have my reasoning for this. It was reported after the fact that Kansas City was going to take Paxton Lynch had he been there at, I believe, pick 28. And Denver swoops in. They're like, you know what? No, Paxton Lynch is our guy. So obviously Kansas City doesn't take quarterback. He doesn't take quarterback in 2016. They kick it down the road one more year, and they draft a guy who's been pretty good at football over the last 7-8 years, and Patrick Mahomes. I also have the Julio one, so I won't spend too much time on it. You're looking at the Falcons as a totally different franchise over the last 10 years. They don't make the Super Bowl, I don't think, without Julio. Matt Ryan doesn't really have a true number one. I mean, you're just looking at an entirely different outlook on the Falcons. And then the Browns, like, do we ever see like a Julio Jones, Josh Gordon duo in the early 2010s? Could that have been super fun?
Ooh.
So, yeah. Josh Gordon had that one unbelievable year. We had, 1,800 yards, 12 touchdowns, led the league in receiving. So, what if the Browns, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the Falcons traded from 27 to 6?
Yeah, something like that.
Something insane. They jumped 20 spots. But what if? Braden, I didn't want to do this, but I had to throw this next one in. What if the Niners don't trade 3 number ones for Trey Lance? I almost feel like you should explain this one.
Over this.
I almost feel like you should talk about this one. But if you don't want to, I'll yap away with my notes.
I mean, I can kind of talk about the pain and suffering as a fan going through this, and if I miss anything, you can fill in the gaps.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, right in the middle of our championship window, Jimmy G, not great. Good enough to get you to the big dance, but not good enough to win it. Take a swing on probably the most obvious project quarterback possibly ever drafted in the first 3 picks.
Right.
Had played like 20 games of football in his like career at the point, and we picked him 3rd overall. Traded 3 first-round picks, like you said, to get him, and then lost in training camp to Sam Darnold, who ended up turning out all right in Minnesota.
Yeah.
But this is a Sam Darnold coming off of getting.
This is bad Sam Darnold.
This is abhorrent Sam Darnold. This is Sam Darnold where if you saw him play in mop-up duty for the Niners, he was feeding the Brock Purdy agenda. And I was eating good off of it. I tell you what.
Yeah.
So he couldn't win the battle against him. Somehow gets more trade value in return to the Cowboys than any other pick that got any other of the quarterbacks that got traded.
That's true.
Goes to the Cowboys, is the 3rd stringer behind Cooper Rush, and now I think he's signed a deal with the Chargers. But
that's right. Yeah.
It has not exactly turned out to be good. Nowhere near where you want him to be as a 3rd overall pick in a spot where you cannot afford to miss on draft picks.
Mm-mm.
And man, they all would be late picks. Obviously, I think we ended up either making the Super Bowl or being like
the
really,
picks
like, this is the
like,
first year
they weren't crazy valuable, but they were still 1st-round picks.
Yeah. This would be our 2nd year having a 1st-round pick since Trey Lance.
Right, and
yeah,
and players that were on the board. Because correct me if I'm wrong, the Niners had pick 12 that year before they moved up. Does that sound right?
Yes.
I
thought I think so. Because
10, 11, 12
ended up being Micah Parsons.
Yes, that was gonna be my next thing. Is Micah was sitting at the board at number 12. Players drafted after him that ended up being really good. Actually, this 2021 draft is kind of a whiff on some of these picks. Darisaw, the left tackle for the Vikings, has been pretty solid. Dealt with some injuries, but still been pretty good.
Would have been better at right tackle than anybody else.
Right. Some 2nd-round picks are really good. I'm gonna toot the Chiefs' horn a little bit, but Nick Bolton and Creed Humphrey have been home run 2nd-round picks since being drafted, both on their 2nd contracts. The next year, so I'm trying to remember this trade. It was to the Dolphins? Does that sound right?
We traded like the 3 first-round picks to the Dolphins, and those picks ended up getting them, what was it, Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, and Jalen Waddle.
But, I mean, look, they really haven't used those picks that well, but I don't know.
No, but like, the guy that ended up winning the spot was the literal last pick of the draft the next year. If we use that pick for quite literally anybody else that can maintain a roster spot, who says we don't win a championship?
That's my thing.
Who says we don't win multiple?
What if Micah's on the other side with Nick Bosa?
would be a lot better than Drake Jackson and Leonard Floyd. I tell you what.
Yeah. I didn't mean to pick on your Niners, but that was just it was
No,
one
we
of the
deserve
first
it.
that popped in my mind. And
We
then the
deserve
last
it.
one I have, also in the 2021 draft is I don't know if you recall, but that whole
Mhm.
leading up to the draft, it was the Penei Sewell Jamar Chase argument that both players were
You
gonna.
know the graphic.
Yeah, it was like either Joe
It
Burrow has
was
protection and no one throw it to, which is kind of funny because now T Higgins is a beast, or Joe Burrow has no one protecting him, but he has Jamar Chase to throw to. What Bengals don't make Super Bowl if they take Sewell, but does T Higgins become this top 5 receiver? Where does Jamar
uh,
Chase end up going? Does Jamar Chase go to then Miami with the pick after? Because that
that
was the
would be
Jalen Waddle
interesting.
pick. Or does he go to Philly where Devontae Smith was taken?
A
Or
Tyreek Hill Jamar Chase receiver
see,
duo in Miami.
yeah.
Ooh,
Do the
that
Panthers
would
realize,
cook.
oh, we don't need J.C. Horn. We'll take Jamar Chase. Does Detroit say, you know what, Penei Sewell, you're really good, but we'll take Jamar Chase instead? I don't know. That 2021 draft is another one where it's like some of these picks were like home run hits. They're studs. You have the uh, Jamar Chase, Joe Waddle, Penei Sewell, Patrick Surtain, Devontae Smith, Micah Parsons. Those guys are awesome, but there are some whiffs in this one. I'm talking. We know Zach Wilson. We know the whole deal with that. I don't need to go over that. Trevor Lawrence hasn't really played out the way people thought. Obviously, Trey Lance, um, Justin Fields. I know there's some Bears truthers out there, but we got to stop with the Justin Fields hype. It's 2025. That ship has sailed. Mac Jones, who was in contention for that third pick in 2021.
Hey,
Who knows?
it all
That could have
ended up
been
coming
on my
around in
top
the end.
5. That would have been something. But yeah, those are our greatest draft what ifs of all time. Now we're going to do something we haven't done before, but we figured we'd give it a shot since draft day is literally one day away. We're going to do a live mock draft. Me and Braden using our big brains, and we're going to cook together the best mock draft for every team. So Braden's going to have all the odd number picks. I'm going to have all the even number picks. And Braden, with the first pick, who are the Titans taking?
I'm glad I have the odd picks because this is, I think, the most chalk. At least since Trevor Lawrence, this is about as chalk as a first round or the number 1 overall pick is going to be. This is Cam Ward. I don't think we need to
Yeah,
talk about this.
we don't.
It literally has already been announced by Adam Schefter.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about it.
And I feel really good about this one. I know there's rumors of the Browns trading out of this pick, but I think Travis Hunter, I think he's the best player in the draft. And I think him going to Cleveland just gives them a cornerback and a receiver that they desperately need. So who do the Giants taking at number 3?
And number 3, I've heard rumors that this could possibly be a trade out spot for the pick for somebody wanted Genty. I feel like that's kind of dumb when a talent like Abdul Carter is on the board, and I think that's
This
who
isn't their
ends up
mock
going at
draft.
number
This is
3.
our mock draft. This is if we're running.
This is our mock draft.
Yeah, we are running the teams.
This is Abdul Carter going to the Giants.
I like it. With the Patriots at number 4, I feel like this one's also really chalk. I don't feel like it's going to be this chalk tomorrow night, but this just hasn't been a whole lot of buzz for anyone else. I'm going to go Will Campbell. I just feel like that's the obvious pick. Patriots need tackle play. Even though I've been making fun of him for stubby arms. He's the best O lineman in the draft. So Will Campbell at 4 to the Patriots. Braden, who do the Jags take at number 5?
You know, how long has it been that I've been saying that this is Mason Graham? And apparently, another Adam Schefter leak. This is not Mason Graham.
No, they're going
There's
offense.
really only one other guy this could be if it's not Mason Graham, and that's Ashton Genty. Do
You
I
don't
love
think-
the pick for?
You don't think this guy right here?
It could be Tet. It could be Tet. Hell, it could be Jalen Walker.
They like their Georgia D
it-
lineman down there.
But if it's not going to be Mason Graham, I guess Travis Etienne, you don't really know what you have with him.
Or Tank. Which sucks is I like Tank Bigsby with that team.
Yeah,
And
I mean, if Tank Bigsby is what is stopping you from drafting Ashton Genty,
I get it.
I don't really know what to tell you.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel bad for Tank because he was a fantasy demon for me last year. But you're going with Ashton Genty?
I do as well. but yeah, I guess I am going Ash to Jetty.
All right. This is where the draft can get super interesting because we've been mocking Genty to the Raiders for the last month and a half, really.
Yeah.
And that kind of leaves the Raiders in a funky spot, in my opinion. They have holes. They have they need running back, but there's not as much as good as Amari Hampton is. They're not going to take him at 6. That'd be if that happened, the world would explode.
Yeah.
None of the receivers are that good, in my opinion, to take at 6. So that's kind of making me think corner, but Will Johnson's like sliding down boards. Am I crazy to
Is this the
Mason
Jadae
Graham
Barrett
pick?
pick?
I don't
Mason
think
Graham
Jadae
as
Barron's at 6. I just struggle with the Mason Graham pick because they already have Christian Wilkins, they have Max Crosby, they have Tyree Wilson. They've invested a lot on their D line. So I feel like that would be a stretch. But you know what? I just thought of it on the spy. Membu to the Raiders.
I think our brains just clicked at the same time. We saw that Mizzou
I
logo,
saw,
like, oh yeah,
this
is a Membu pick.
I was yapping about Membu or Mason Graham, and I just saw Membu. I'm like, you know what? I'm taking it.
That's my guy.
Braden, who are the Jets taking at 7th?
Who are the Jets taking at 7? Ooh. Yeah, I think. Yeah, they do need an offensive tackle.
I've heard that a lot of linemen are
right
going
tackle.
early. What?
I think this is probably a right tackle. Yeah, I think this is Kelvin Banks.
Yeah, the scuttlebutt now
think
is
that
that
just makes the most sense at this point.
there's a lot of linemen that are going to fly off the board earlier than the consensus mock drafts have been going. If this happened for the Panthers, they would jump overjoyed. I think Mason Graham is a home run pick at 8. I don't even think they think twice about that. At pick 9, New Orleans Saints are on the clock. Braden, who are they taking?
Ooh, the New Orleans Saints.
And I don't know if you could see up here, but it does, if you're having a tough time, it does say their needs. And it's a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. That they need a new team.
Yeah, they do.
At this point. Ryan Ramczyk did retire, but at this point, the offensive tackle.
Yeah,
the offensive tackle room is so bleak.
You're looking at like Josh Simmons.
You're looking
now.
at like Josh Simmons, Josh Connerly range.
It's too early for them.
At 9 is crazy.
It is.
Give me Jadae Barron. I think this is a Jadae Barron pick.
I don't hate that pick. I like that. Bears at 10. I think they would jump. They would run to the podium if Genty was here, but Genty's obviously not here. And with Banks being off the board, I don't think they go O-line. Give me Jalen Walker. They need help on D-line. Him and Montez Sweat could be a good pass rush duo. So I like Walker there. Braden, your hometown team, right? Your favorite team, not
hometown team, but
favorite team. San Francisco 49ers at pick 11. Who are they taking?
So I guess there was a presser today, and they basically said, we like Michael Williams. We don't really like Shamar Stewart. Yeah, and I won't say I agree, but I do like Michael Williams, and I would not be mad at all if that's the pick, and that's going to be my pick.
All right. Pick 12. Oh, man, if I wanted chaos, I would just take this guy right here.
Oh.
If I just wanted the world to explode.
I think the world would click off of this so fast.
But I just can't. Do that.
That would be the ultimate funny moment, but...
We've had, me and you both had Golden going to the Cowboys quite a bit in our mock drafts.
It kind of just makes too much sense.
It does, but that feels super boring to me. But I hate being this chalk, but I think Matthew Golden's a good pick here. Miami Dolphins at pick 13. Who are they selecting?
I think the Dolphins saw Kelvin Banks leave the board at pick 7 and just slam their heads against the wall.
Mm-hmm. There's some good talent on the board here.
There is some good talent on the board here.
But positional value is kind of a struggle with some of these good players.
Yeah, I'm between a couple right now. Okay. I'm between Walter Nolan and Malachi Starks.
Okay.
I don't know.
I get the
if
Starks pick because they lost
They
Holland,
did lose Holland.
but the Walter Nolan pick is also a great one because they lost Christian Wilkins last offseason.
I think Walter Nolan is going to go higher than Malachi Starks, but just given the positional, like what they need,
Yeah, we're
I
the GMs here. These other teams, they do not
this could
matter.
even be Nicky Manwari, and I wouldn't bat too hard of an eye. He's a little down there on
He is,
this big board.
but it's your pick.
You know what? Screw it. Give me Nicky Manwari.
The
I
athletic
could see it.
freak had a
I could see a world where Nicky Manwari goes
10.00
higher than Malachi Starks.
RAS score, which is relative athletic score, which just shows like NFL teams how
There
good
has
you
never
are.
been there's never been a safety more athletic according to those rankings.
Yeah. A freak of nature.
Shout out Obi Melifonwu though. Shout out. It's a name you didn't expect here today.
If I said, I'm blanking on his college. Is it Syracuse or is it UConn? I'm mixing
I
someone.
think it was UConn.
Yeah, I don't know who I'm thinking of for Syracuse, but
Somewhere
pick 14.
in the Northeast.
Yeah, pick 14. Colts are on the clock. This is the easiest pick I think I've had so far, other than pick 2. Tyler Warren. If he's sitting at 14, the Colts are jumping over joy to give Anthony Richardson a weapon.
That
Falcons
just
at
makes
pick
sense.
15. Who are they
Pick
taking?
15. This is our draft. Give me Mike Green.
I like it. Cardinals at 16. You took my Jahdae Barron pick, which I think him with the Cardinals is an awesome fit. Cardinals, this is a funny one, dude. We had last time, you went Ted McMillan to the Chargers, right? Or Cardinals?
I did have T-Mac. And for what it's worth, Brock was very happy with that pick.
Yeah, but you know what? Brock doesn't have to be happy right now. He's got his Celtics.
Brock's not here.
Yeah, Brock's not here, and he's watching his Celtics
if he wants to be happy,
win by
he
a
can show
bazillion
up.
points right now, probably. Oh boy. I'm super tempted.
I don't want to tell you what to do, but if you were gonna go Jahdae Barron there, I think Will Johnson's on the board.
I really want to pair the Ohio State receivers together.
That could also be very fun.
I'm going to do it because they're two different types of receivers, and I think Marvin Harrison and Ted McMillan is too repetitive. Emeka Ibuka. I haven't made this pick at all.
That could be fun. 16 feels a little high, but I don't hate it.
I think he's like the only, for sure, round 1 receiver. I think Ted has a low... His range is huge of where he could get drafted. But yeah, pick 17, Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock. Braden, who are they taking?
Yeah, the Bengals are looking at this board and might need a change of pants. This could not have possibly gone any better for them.
Really?
It's a matter of who's better here. Again, Malachi Starks is one of those guys where he's really talented, but it's like, where is he actually going to go? But Will Johnson made his way to 17, and I'm taking him.
All right.
I think he's the best defensive player available at this point. That's what the Bengals have to do.
Seattle's on the clock. I've been mocking them to take a guard for weeks. I don't think they'll take it, but you know what? It's my mock draft, and it's not Tyler Booker either. I'm going with Gray Zabel. I think he's gonna go. I think he's gonna go super high, like way higher. It's gonna be like, whoa! You're gonna have to second guess yourself when you see that pick. But yep, Gray Zabel, guard, North Dakota State, going to the Seahawks at 18. Braden, Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the clock at pick 19. Who are they selecting?
I see Walter Nolan on the board. I could see him being gone by now, but it's not going to be to Tampa Bay. Jahad Campbell's on the board, and that's too perfect of a fit for me to not take it. I've been doing that pretty much this whole time. It's getting boring, but if it's a good pick, it's a good pick.
All right, I have the Broncos on the clock. Broncos just need offense. They need weapons. Maybe Amarian Hampton's the pick. But because I've been so boring and taking Hampton, I kind of want to go Ted McMillan. But him and Sutton is like too repetitive, if that makes sense. They're the same.
I feel like
type.
you can never have too much of a good thing.
That's true. That's true. And Cortland Sutton is great. If they wanted to upset some Kansas City fans, they could take this man Luther Burden, but that seems pretty high for Luther.
That seems a little rich.
I'm gonna take Amari Hampton. I'm gonna be boring. I just think that's just it makes sense. Here comes the interesting pick. Pittsburgh Steelers on the clock at pick 21.
Is it interesting? This is Shadur Sanders.
All right.
The fall
the
stops
slide
here.
is stalled. Yep.
I could see a team even trading up into like the teens to go and get Shadur, just because teams need quarterbacks.
I think the Browns tomorrow night. I know we don't have it in this scenario, but they have the potential to take Travis at 2 and then trade up from, I don't know what their second round pick is like, but trade up from that second round pick back into the first round. Something like that. Think about like Detroit, Washington especially, because Washington has like no picks now with all the trades they made. Maybe even the Vikings, some around there. But yeah, I think Shadur is going to be pretty good in Pittsburgh. But I have the Chargers on the clock at pick 22. This is also a super easy pick for me. It just makes too much sense. Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan. There's the Michigan connection already there with Harbaugh. They have a need for weapons on offense. Like him and McConkey can give Herbert some weapons now. And I think it just makes too much sense. So Colston Loveland, pick 22. Pick 23 is the Green Bay Packers. They're on the clock, Braden. Who are they taking?
They're looking at Tetterow and McMillan, and they are not thinking twice. They need an alpha dog wide receiver 1, and if Tet McMillan can learn how to try, I think he's going to be that and more.
I like the pick. Like the pick a lot. I have the Minnesota Vikings. Honestly, if we were doing trades, which I guess I could do, I would have Kansas City trading up here with my biased hat on and have them taking Mr. Joshua Simmons. But for the sake of this, we're just going to stick and pick these. Unless do you want to do trades?
I mean, we can do trades, but I think I see a guy on the board to where I don't think the Vikings would be willing to trade.
This guy?
It sure is.
Yeah. If Malachi Starks is on the board, I don't think they'll trade back, but on this scenario, he is there, so they're going to stick and pick. Malachi Starks is a Minnesota Viking at pick 24. Pick 25, Houston Texans are on the clock. Braden, who are they selecting?
This pick is why the Chiefs would want to trade up to 24 to pick Josh Simmons, because he's going at pick 25. And I'm going to make you click that button.
No, I will. But my fear for Simmons going to the Texans is he's coming off that injury from last year, and Texans have literally no one blocking. I'd figured they would go with a more safe O-line pick. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that. I would not be surprised if this could maybe be Tyler Booker. But I feel like Josh Simmons is making like really good progress on that injury, though.
That's true. If you looked at his,
I think he'd be fine.
If you looked at the physicals and he looked okay, then I think that's a good pick. But it's super upsetting as a Chiefs fan. I'm not gonna lie. The Rams sitting at pick 26. Oh man, this Shamar Stewart is sitting here, but that is just not a fit with the Rams. I like them going interior line or receiver because I think they want to give Stafford one more year to like see if they can contend for a Super Bowl. Screw it. I'm going to go Tyler Booker. I don't know if that's what consensus drafts have been doing, but I just think if you want to give Stafford the best chance in his last year, Booker is going to be really good. But Baltimore Ravens, pick 27. Who are they selecting, Braden?
Yeah, this is where Shamar Stewart goes, I think. It's kind of just best edge available, really, is what it feels like it's been the pick for the Ravens the last, 5 years. And that's going to be what it continues to be. I could see this being James Pierce or
that's kind of what I was
tackles. Thinking. But if Shamar Stewart's available, I think you kind of just have to take BPA.
I like it a lot. Now this potentially could be the James Pierce pick, in my opinion. Detroit Lions are on the clock at pick 28. But just for our listeners out there, some of the guys that are still on the board, we have James Pierce Jr., Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan, Derek Harmon, Luther Burden, Jackson Dart, Nick Squirton, and Donovan. I'm not going to pronounce your name.
Donovan Ezeraku.
Yeah, that's why Braden's here. This I think has to be a D line pick. I know it's been edge
Mhm.
rusher primarily. I'm gonna take James Pierce. I think him and Aiden Hutchinson would be terrifying together. James Pierce, the
Yeah.
one knock, he might have a few character concerns, and he kind of just relies a lot on his speed rush. But I think he's still going to be a really good player in the NFL. But pick 29, Washington Commanders are on the clock. Braden, who are they selecting?
The fact that Walter Nolan has not gotten off the board just makes me mad, but there just keeps being perfect picks that just keep making it so I can't take him, and Donovan Ezaraku is on the board. I honestly, if I got the pick at pick 28, I probably would have taken Ezaraku over James Pierce. I don't hate the pick because if James Pierce wasn't the pick at 28, he was going to be the pick at 29.
Yeah,
So I can't take him at 28, but I can take him at 29. Donovan Ezaraku is my pick.
all right. My arch nemesis team, the Buffalo Bills, pick 30. I'm going to actually scroll way down here. No, I'm kidding. They need D line help, I think, a lot. As a Chiefs fan, I do not want them to get Walter Nolan because I think Walter Nolan is really good at football. I could see it's tough because the top safeties already went off the board. Because like I would maybe think of Xavier Watts because they have a need for that, but with Eamon Warrior
30?
gone, Malachi Starks, that's a big reach. Uh you know what? No, my draft. They're taking Kenneth Grant, and I'm also gonna have the next pick because it's my favorite team. This could not have fallen better for Kansas City. I'm not gonna lie. If they're not gonna take O line in Connerly, having Nolan or Luther Burden on the board is it's pretty good. I can't let the Eagles take Walter Nolan. I just can't. I just can't let it happen because the world would implode if that happened. So, Braden, to close out our first round mock draft, who are the Philadelphia Eagles taking at pick 32?
There are two picks that I really like here.
Let's hear him.
Derek
Jackson Dart.
Harmon.
Oh.
Not Jackson Dart. Derek Harmon, I feel like, is. I'm not saying going to be a first round pick, but I feel like probably should be a first round pick.
Yeah, he's on that borderline of could
Is
sneak
a
in
lot
the first
safer
round.
of a first round pick,
Yeah.
but I like Donovan Jackson, the
All
guard
right.
from Ohio State. I don't think don't not yet. I'm still thinking.
You're lucky because I almost clicked it. So
I like Donovan Jackson. I think there's a real chance he could be a sneaky pick. Like I said last week, was one of the best guard prospects going into this year. Ended up sliding over to tackle when Josh Simmons got hurt
played
and
well.
held his own against some really good players. I think he'd slide in perfectly at that right guard spot with the loss of Mekhi Becton. Yeah, I talked myself into it. I'm still going Donovan Jackson.
All right. So now I can officially
Now
press
you
the
can click the button.
All right. But yeah, that was our first round mock draft. I feel like we did pretty good. I feel like it could not have gone better for us. See if I can zoom this in for our audience. Does that look better? Yeah, I kind of get the majority of that on the screen. But yeah, that is our first round mock draft. I don't want to be like gloat and everything, but this is a pretty good mock draft. I think if this happened for all the teams, I think everyone would be pretty happy. Granted, we didn't do any trades, but man, I feel like that's a pretty solid mock draft. What do you think?
Yeah, this is a really, like we've been saying for how long now, this is a really deep class. So the
At
fact
certain
that
positions.
At certain positions is a really deep class.
Yeah.
And this is one of the first years where everybody has their first round pick at this point.
That's true.
Things can happen during the draft, but if every team can walk away with a pick in the first round, and even like within like the first 20 picks of the second round, I think they're all going to come away with a pretty good player. So yeah, I'm trying to. I really can't find much wrong with this.
The only one that I would potentially change, or maybe like second guess, is I think if Warren's sitting at the board at number 7, I think that the Jets would think about it. But other than that,
I could see that. But I mean, who even is the Jets starting right tackle right now?
A homeless man.
I couldn't tell you. Is it? Why is the name Chuma Okorafor coming to my head for that pick? I don't think that's who it is. If it is, somebody leave a comment and say Braden knows ball, because my
and
lord,
if it's not,
if it's not, then throw tomatoes at me in the comments.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, throw tomatoes at Braden's.
I don't know. I don't care.
Braden's apartment. But yeah, I think that this, again, if this happened tomorrow night, it won't, because we didn't do any trades. And it sounds like there's going to be a pretty active first round tomorrow. But that was our mock draft, our final one. I think the title would be 6.0. I think that is mock draft 6.0. Regardless, but yeah, that's pretty much all we have. We wanted to keep this one a little bit shorter, kind of just highlight our mock draft that we're going to do, and then we chimed in on some of the greatest what ifs of all time. But Braden, do you have anything else? Any rumors that you heard or saw on any social media that we should be on the lookout for tomorrow?
For tomorrow, I can't really think of anything else. The only other thing I could think of for like NFL news is Niners OTAs started this week, and George Kittle wasn't there.
Yeah,
I don't know what that's going to be about.
The Brock Purdy contract situation still going on.
Harold Fannin in the second or third round doesn't look too bad.
Yeah,
what I've heard.
What are the other tight end prospects? Harold Fannin, Elijah Arroyo,
Mason Taylor, Gunnar Helm.
Yeah,
There's
all
a
those.
Pretty good tight end class. So
Luke
not
Lachey.
a great time to be. Don't.
He's like a 6th or 7th round pick, but I had to throw it out there.
That's a blocking tight end if I've ever heard one.
Hey, him and Kittle, you would have the best run blocking tight ends in the league. I promise you. Give Christian McCaffrey some running lanes.
We like to block our tight ends, but
yeah,
not really a good draft class to be holding out as a tight end, because
no,
it's like granted it's Kittle, but he's like what 31, this is the last year of his deal. If a guy's gonna get traded, this is about when it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also in the boat that my team should select tight end in this draft, because my team's tight end is probably going to retire at the end of this year.
Hey, Noah Gray's solid.
He's okay, but
he's not Elijah Arroyo. But
yeah, he's not. That's the thing. I think or even Mason Taylor, who I've been seeing a mock draft here and there that's like Taylor going pick 32.
It sounds like he could like sneak into the first round,
which would be insane. I don't think we're going to see
I don't know.
tight ends selected.
I haven't really seen much on him, so I can't really say too much. But that 3 tight ends in the first round feels like something that should be illegal.
All right. Really quick before we go, give me the Niners. Give me your like best case scenario draft pick for the Niners, and then give me the earth is falling draft pick for the Niners.
Best case scenario. That's actually like kind of realistic.
Yeah, it's got to be in the.
If Armand Membu falls,
all right,
because teams don't see him as a tackle,
or if Niners trade up
scenario, or if we trade up, I would be head over heels if my guy Armand Membu made his way to San Francisco.
Yes, sir.
Earth is falling first round pick.
That you would just like shake your head and it's like, what are we doing? Like, think Raiders Cleveland Farrell pick.
Well, Cleveland Farrell was like a second or third round.
Yeah, okay, don't go that far, but you get the message I'm trying to say.
Ooh, that's. I think that's a good question, man. I mean, what's like our range that we're talking here? Like probably like 20s, 30s, 40s rounds,
something like that, yeah. Or just a position you just absolutely do not need. Like if Amari Hampton, like if he's the pick there.
Yeah, that would be pretty bad.
But I don't think that's realistic.
Those two wanted the tight ends. But like
Loveland or Warren.
Here's the thing though, if we get Loveland or Warren, those are at least like, those are really good players. Yeah. Like I could see them getting incorporated in the offense.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like if a world where Loveland and Warren are top 10 picks, which I could see,
Yeah.
if
The
we somehow
scenario's out
take
there.
that third tight end with pick
Yeah.
11,
Yeah.
I think that's where
Okay.
I'm like, all right, man, what are
Yeah.
we doing?
That's fair. Um, I'll speak for my Chiefs and my bias as a Chiefs fan. My home run scenario is the Chiefs getting Josh Simmons. It makes way too much sense. The Chiefs will shore up their left tackle. Maybe not this year, but he's a player that will be really good for the next 10 years, I think. He just has the injury concerns that like might hold him back for a little bit. Worst case scenario, and I saw this in someone's mock draft earlier today, and I do not remember their name, so I apologize. I saw a mock draft of Travion Henderson going 32, and I just get immediate flashbacks of CEH in 2020, where it's like, oh, the offense is good. We just need a running back. And it's like, oh, CEH, like, kind of sucks at football. Like, that would be my disaster scenario. Because honestly, I think for the Chiefs anyway, you can make an argument for pretty much any other position other than, like, obviously quarterback. But, like, receiver, like if Burden's there, he's the hometown kid. It makes sense. If for somehow Loveland or Warren fall, it makes sense. O line, any of them makes sense. D line makes sense. I guess
I mean,
linebacker.
center.
I mean, yeah, but center you can kick over to guard with no issue, really.
That's true.
And there's no like true centers in this first round anyway. It's just a lot of like left guard, right guards. Safeties, I mean, maybe, but if Starks or E-Man Warrior there, I mean, I wouldn't be that upset. I think if they go running back at 32, or 31, sorry, I'm gonna lose my mind.
If they go running back and it's not one of the top two,
Yeah, if it's not Amari and Hampton, or
yeah,
obviously Genty's not gonna be there. Genty's gonna be gone by probably pick 7. But yeah, that is my disaster scenario for Kansas City. Oh man, that was a good episode. That was a good episode. Do you have anything else to add?
Who's your sleeper? Could be a first round pick guy who we haven't really been giving much hype to.
That's
Like
a good
a scenario where if
question.
this guy ends up being a first round pick, you're like, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Who's
Like
yours?
mine is Donovan Jackson. Where I feel like I'm
Okay.
not seeing any like media hype for him to be a first round pick. I could absolutely see it.
I don't hate that. Am I Jackson Dart? That's not a crazy one because there's like actual round 1 buzz with him, right?
Uh, it's been like on and off. I could see
Dude, I don't-
Jalen Monroe
Dude,
in a scenario where
better
Shadur goes
not
at
be
9.
the.
If Shadur somehow goes at pick 9,
No.
I-
I
I'm
get
not
what you're
saying
saying,
it's likely.
but
I'm
no.
saying it's possible.
And I know he's invited to the draft, and that might encourage people to
There's
like.
got to be a reason why he hasn't turned it down.
Dude, that would make me so mad.
Pittsburgh's not rolling with Mason Rudolph at quarterback.
And I get that. I'll stick with the Mason Taylor pick because I think we know the talent of the top 2 tight ends in this class, and they'll probably be gone by. I know I had Loveland going 22 and Warren going 14. They're both probably going to be gone by pick 20, if I had to take a guess. So I think Mason Taylor sneaking into the last 2 or 3 picks, I think, is possible, especially with Kansas City having the questions about Kelsey, and then the Eagles sounds like they might trade off Goddard. Who knows? I think Mason Taylor could sneak into the first round. But
See that?
yeah. Do you have anything else, or do we just wrap this
No,
one up and then?
I think we're getting pretty close to that magic number. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna probably hop off tonight, watch draft day, watch Bo Callahan drop to the 7th pick because none of his teammates went to his poor guy's birthday party. Watch Kevin Costner trade 3 number 1s to move from 7 to 1, and then trade 3 number 2s to get pick 6, so that way they could take Bo Callahan or whatever. I need to rewatch the movie because I haven't seen it in a year, but yeah, that kind of wraps up this episode.
psychotic.
Yeah, insane. If that actually happened IRL, I mean, I don't even know. That movie is just so bad,
It'd be
but
like
it's
the
so funny.
Titans trading. It'd be like the Titans drafting Shador at pick 1, trading back into the top 10 to draft Cam Ward.
No, because at least in that movie, they drafted like a running back with their second first round pick. So it'd be like, I'm trying to think.
Yeah,
It'd
I
be
don't
like
even
the
know.
Giants. It'd be like the Giants trading from 3-1, saying they're going to take Cam Ward. They take Genty #1, and then trade from back in the second round to pick like 7 or 8, and taking like Tyler Warren or something like that. Something absurd. And just because in the movie they don't take a quarterback. The Browns end up taking the edge rusher and Vontae Mack and Ray Jennings, the running back out of Florida State. So it'd be like that, in my opinion. Or I guess if you want to go the Abdul Carter route and then Ashton Genty. But that would be hilarious, and I'm kind of rooting for that now. But yep, that kind of wraps up this episode of the Sports Nerds. It is finally draft week, and me and Braden are both pumped about it. We cannot wait. Hope you guys watch. We'll probably have an episode next week recapping the draft. I won't be giving draft grades. I think draft grades right after the draft is the stupidest thing because no one knows how good these players are going to be. So we don't know if we'll do that, but might just react to our own team's drafts, see if someone shot off the boards or someone fell down. But yeah, for Braden Banking, I'm Dawson Livingston. That was another great episode of the Sports Nerds, but we are signing off.